And let's see, High Priest, you're also potentially a problem, so let's let you walk my way. Can start normally? No, we might just have to resort to the good old classic here. Radiate is just too strong, too powerful. And we see the Shield of the Gong show up. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. It's risky. It's a death sentence to a certain degree, the sheer amount of noise you make with this bad boy. But it has so many of the resistances that we've been struggling with. I could get our electricity, RN, which we currently don't have anything in, and the willpower that we just swapped away the ring for. Oof. Oh me, oh my. It's just so dangerous. But I at least have to pick it up for now. At least think about it. What do you have? Is that damnation? No, just a staff of air that looks fancy, maybe? Okay. Just a staff of air. Oh, now I actually see it better. For a moment, I just saw the crazy fleshy top on it, and I thought they were wielding some kind of newfangled weapon that we hadn't seen before. But that makes sense. So you installed DCSS on your lunch break? Is there a way to pick with which ranged weapon F defaults to? So yeah, if it's like something that you're throwing, it's that quiver thing that we see in the top right here at the very end of the kind of text section. So capital Q is how you change what you have quivered. You can also use the bracket keys. And similarly, if you're using something like a sling and you want to switch between just using regular stones or sling bullets, go through with the same mechanics. You do, of course, have to wield the ranged weapon if you want to use something like a bow or a sling or crossbow, you know, any of those things. In which case, you might want to make sure it's bound to A or B, and that way you can use the apostrophe key to quick swap between them like this. I hope that answers your question. Definitely let me know if you want anything else clarified. There are many things that I still don't know how to do, or at least would need a little bit of a refresher, but I would hope after the sheer amount of time that I've spent playing this game over the years that I have some of the base mechanics to a decent level of comfortability on my side. Though, of course, never any promises. Okay, at the risk of finding myself in a dangerous situation, let's just spam tab here. Turns out we're a-okay in the short term at the very least, though I'm ready and willing to believe that that might not always be the case. Let's see, in a battle of range, I think I do better. I do, unfortunately for our elven archer friends. It's almost a shame that Safed isn't around to watch us slaughter all these elves. I do know how much they enjoy that. Okie dokie. So far, yeah, elf is not too bad. There's our first air elementalist. I knew I was being cautious with our resistance to electricity for a reason, you son of a gun. And there we have it. And we get a vision of fortitude and cunning. So cunning is dodging and stealth. Fortitude is armor and shields. Hey, look at that. He's learning. He's slowly getting there. Let's see what we have available to be cursed. That is what I was afraid of. We could curse the Ring of Fire to us temporarily if we so desired. Amulet is probably going to be swapped out right away. I do enjoy that secondary regen. We've seen it come in handy for a few of these fights as we get down to half and then throughout the course of the fight end up back at full. It's not every character that you get to see that with. It's largely this 2 health per turn, which is just wild. So, something to think about, but don't know if I'll be using the curse right away here. Hello, my dragon pals. What do we have behind? Just the fog scroll? I guess maybe the better way to do this is a quick V here, V there, V everywhere. This bottom one has no treasure? What are you trying to pull, game? What's your grift here? Well, okie dokie. I guess I did end up cursing this buckler already, hey? With a crappy curse at least, so that's something. Do I want to risk the Shield of the Gong? It's gonna be frightening. It's definitely gonna be something. But it would allow us not to have to swap rings. So let's do it like this. I am gonna curse this fire ring. Hopefully by the time we have to break it, which most likely will happen, but hopefully by then we'll have found a better source of fire resistance, one that maybe doesn't have a downside like this. Or we'll just fall in love with this one because we start casting an ignition or something silly like that. But I think that's worth it. And then we can break the chains here. Almost got rid of that ring immediately, but it's the buckler that I'm done with for the moment. We lose a little bit of AC, but we'll get a pretty ridiculous boost in defensive capabilities with the gong here. And that also allows us to change our necklace back to the reflective one, which we put on the floor, of course. Sorry, my mistake. Excuse me, pardon me. I'm just gonna pick this back up. Thank you very much. And let's put that bad boy on. That should do us pretty huge wonders here in Elf. Besides the amount of noise we'll be making with the shield, and maybe keeping that in mind, this will just mean that we have a very nice chance of deflecting all of our enemies' arrows, spells, what have you back at them, which is always a fantastic feeling. GCSS has so many quality of life improvements since the last time you played. Oh yeah. I'm a pretty huge fan of just how many of those have been creeping in over the time. I mean, so I played on and off for the last, I'd like to say 12, 13 years or so, but that was pretty concentrated at the start, a bit of a concentration in the middle, and then definitely in the last like year or so I've been playing quite a bit. But that first jump when I started playing in this most recent session about a year ago was mind-blowing. Like, so many little things have been tweaked and changed. I didn't even feel a lot of the things that I've forgotten kind of affecting me as much, just because there are so many systems in place to make it easier on new players as well. I think hasn't really been a better time to get into the game than now, just because it has so many things that make it so much better for somebody learning the game and just kind of trying to get in the hang of it, figure out how it all works. Sounds like a good trade-off. 41-ish is OMG, good choice. Pretty wild for a shielding score. It does mean that we'll, as we can see, kind of bring the entirety of floors to us every time we start a fight, but it is a trade-off that I'm usually relatively willing to make, especially when we can just murder elves with their own arrows once again. Love to see it. So as long as we're playing cautiously, pretty much assuming or pretending like we're playing a Quasla follower who's in the eye of the storm and always making that racket, keeping that in mind, we should be okay and be able to leverage exactly the amazing kind of defensive capabilities of the shield to our best self, I guess. Don't you hate it when you're halfway through a sentence and you realize that you have no idea how it started or how you were going to end it in the first place? Absolutely brilliant stuff. If everyone could just use missiles against me, that would be great. Come one, come all. And there we go. Since we have multiple enemies, might as well bring out the big boys here, start irradiating. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, Elf going a lot smoother than I was initially, maybe not suspecting. I was pretty happy with it, but I was concerned. There were some layers and levels of concern there. We also get a pretty fantastic book. If we ever want to resort a little bit more to the spellcasting side of things, we do now have Lahudib's Crystal Spear, which is a huge find, especially if we do get something like Spellforge Servitor in the relatively near future. That's a big advantage that we can bring onto our side of the table. And nope, I will not be going to the Hall of Blades. I'm happy just using some good old fisticuffs myself. And again, this is a floor where we have to start becoming concerned about the sheer amount of enemies, because with the gong, we make enough noise to alert the final vault before we actually walk there. So at least something to be cautious of, cognizant of at the very least. And hopefully we can otherwise pretty much tab our way through the majority of these fights without too much concern. Especially if these summons would all kind of get out of the way and let me kill their leader. Fantastic, or not. Almost fantastic. There we go. And I'd hazard a guess that this is the final section of the level. Don't know what it is. Might be the giant red angry faces that are giving me some inkling or clue that that may be the case. But unfortunately it does mean that some of our worst nightmares have been realized. We have started banging our gong within earshot of these bad boys. So we'll have to be slightly concerned about where they might start popping out towards us. Looks like this over here is kind of the entrance. Yay. Yay. And not in the exclamation of excitement, but more so in the affirmative sense. Yay versus nay kind of deal. Not too bad. Definitely pop around the corner so that the demonologist gets slightly fewer turns of summoning in friends. And then I just started blasting. Probably shouldn't have walked this far before starting to fight, because of course as soon as we do start to fight, that's when all the noise starts happening and we bring in all these new friends and buddies to join us. And you don't usually want to be in this sort of position when this happens. In fact, let's start playing proactively a little bit more here. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Want to make sure that we're calling these before they get to a critical situation. We do have heal wounds now, but still no blinking scrolls. Unfortunately, used all of those up. So I feel like it's a decent plan and idea to maybe exude some level of caution. Especially, ooh, an Annihilator coming through. With Wukad Mu. Oh my gosh, we were just talking about this the other day, and it got me thinking that it had been a long time since I'd seen the staff of Wukad Mu. Well, how about that? I think I'm going to read a Fear Scroll, though, and try and get some of these enemies to move, please. If you could be so kind, I would like it if you could step aside. Just the sheer amount of firepower that's coming our direction, only survivable thanks to the gong. I mean, it's the gong's fault, so maybe important to keep that in mind, but at the very least it's taking responsibility for its actions and making sure that we can survive something that would normally be quite terrifying. Oh my gosh, Elementalist has joined the chat. Hello. There goes my single wide corridor that I was so happy about. Excuse me, pardon me, my friends. I'm just going to be taking this buddy upstairs for the time being, and let's wait out the summons and maybe simplify life's problems just a wee bit. We'll rinse and repeat as many times as needed, game. There we go. Trying to get just a couple of these bad boys to come up with us. Not too few, otherwise we're going to be here for the rest of time itself. But it does help to get some of these buddies narrowed down or knocked off the agenda here in advance. Perfect. My Null's so strong, such good choices you made. It's kind of hard not to be strong when you're a Null. If you just survive, that's all it's really about, and you're almost guaranteed to get here. Because I'll tell you what, I mean, you might have been rightfully sarcastic in those comments, and I do say rightfully because we have made some poor decisions over the course of this run in total. But fortunately, no fatal ones, and that's the only one that really matters at the end of the day. If you're alive, you're probably doing pretty well for yourself. And especially on a Null, because again, once you get your skills all to a high point, like at this stage, I could pretty much pivot to anything that I find, which is awesome. Having decent spellcasting across the board, this is probably enough for like level 5 spells now in our current armor. Let's take a quick peek. just about level 5, especially if they're multi-school. And any weapon, of course, is already at min delay as long as it's not a two-handed big boy, so it's hard to complain with these kind of things at our disposal. Do I want the staff? Yes, wait, it's not on this pile, it's on this pile. Let's go back. It has been a long time since I checked this out. So let's see if it has any noticeable changes right off the bat. It's just a +9 staff. I'm pretty sure that's consistent with what I already knew, and it allows us to evoke it to, oh, never mind. It can be channeled to allow us to cast spells without exhausting any magical energies. So I do feel like that's different. It used to just replenish your magical energies. No, I meant sarcastically, really mean it. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Seems like a really strong character you built. Yeah, I don't know how much credit I can take again, but I would agree that the Knoll's feeling pretty good right now. Being able to tab your way through a really like kind of monster dense area like this, being able to escape that situation without blink and just running away, no haste or nothing, I mean, doesn't get a lot better than that. So I'm very happy with where this character is at the moment, to say the least. And as long as we can continue to observe that ever so crucial strategy of not dying, then it should just be going up from here, getting more and more fantastic as we continue on. Reflection with the shield is absolutely wild. Trying to toe the line between tabbing quickly enough so that we're not bogged down with kind of the standard fights that we should be able to get by doing so, while also making sure that I don't immediately find myself at half health and no recourse from there. Absolutely fantastic. Can't complain too much here. And if we do decide at some point to really pivot into the magic side of things, maybe if we do end up getting like level 8 spells castable before the end of the 3-rune run that we're kind of planning to do here, then we could definitely think about switching over to the staff and having some ability to just keep launching a barrage of spells every which way. Okay, elementalist, I guess I should say. You're gonna be a real pain in the butt with your little army of friends. Largely, I just don't like getting rid of all the walls because, I mean, choke points obviously very important, but on top of that, it's nice to have some sense of organization. Like, you live here, elementalist. Why are you ruining your own home? Imagine what this does for the property value. I can't imagine it's doing great things. But I guess it's worth it to not die. I'd probably go through a similar, or go to a similar extent to keep myself alive in the world of DCSS, so all's fair, I guess. All's fair. Unfortunately, they can't break open these hard stone walls, so we're not going to have to deal with all the elves coming out of the woodwork every which way. Always a nice fact of life here. Jeez Louise, so many necromancers, so many necromancers. Look, there's another one. Don't do that. Don't heal each other. That's not cool. Not okay, my new friends. Thought we were on the same page, but it is what it is. And now we get our first sorcerer, only 2% chance to banish. Fantastic. We definitely want to fight this buddy in melee range so that damnation is not a concern. Corrosive Bolt can still hurt really badly. I don't think we have... Oh, never mind. We do have resistance to corrosion on something or another. Maybe I should take a peek at this. What is that on? Ah, the Cursed With Me ring. This beautiful, beautiful thing. Still just so happy we found this. So many traits added to our disposal. So we're at least slightly better than we otherwise might be in that department, and we can always just irradiate these sons of guns as soon as possible, ensuring that we get those hits. Should have killed the necromancer first, gosh darn it. Now it's slightly scarier. We have to make sure that we're careful of how much contamination we build up. I might want to sacrifice that a wee bit just to ensure we get through. But no, there we go. We do just kill the sorcerer, so never mind. Sitting pretty, feeling happy. And let's instead just take our friend here. Maybe throw a boomerang while we wait for them to please step this way. Right this way, sir. Thank you. And definitely run away, though. That Annihilator Crystal Sphere could hurt like a son of a gun. Or, you know, just kill them instead. That works for me. Gotta love that reflection. And we get another artifact ring. Unfortunately, not one that's really worth switching into right now. In fact, I will leave that on the floor. But it's something. Potentially something that we may want to come back to in the future. We'll have to see how it all shakes out, how it all goes down. And I'm curious how much of this end vault we've cleared just through the sheer amount of racket that we've made drawing all these sons of guns to our location of choice. Okay, 2 elementalists means all the walls in this entire area is about to disintegrate into nothingness, of course. Again, not very thoughtful to your other elves. I mean, what if someone needs to change or something? Where are they gonna go? Let's pop in here, start contaminating a bit. I'm sure we're drawing even more attention to our side, but we gotta get rid of that demonologist, and we can probably take whatever comes our way, right? I mean, sure, we've basically had an alarm trap set off on us every moment here, but that should be okay. High Priest and a Blade Master, not my bag, so let's immediately take the Blade Master up for a little bit of solo time. 1v1 me IRL, and we might even just start blasting you with some undodgeable damage since you're being a pain in the rear. Lecturing and applause. Thank you, thank you. Again, I take no credit, but I will. Some may call me a hero, and we'll just leave it at that. And okie dokie. First Blade Master is always a little bit of an interesting time, trying to use it as a litmus test to see how scared I should be of the rest of the area here. Also, right, Irradiate would have been way better than the Ice Blast there, Eggly. Whoops. Okay, a High Priest, a Blade Master, and an Annihilator walk into a bar. I immediately grab my pants and start running, of course, is the punchline to that joke, as we all know. So let's do that. Immediately run away, and this time, use that noggin, and let's start irradiating this son of a gun. Definitely has better damage than the Ice Blast, does a decent chunk of change, and very much like said Ice Blast, is undodgeable, helps us out with those bad boys. It's part of what makes the Irradiate spell just so irrequitably? I can't even say the word right now. But regardless, what makes it so strong, if we want to use our fancy language instead. Ouch. So you call down Damnation, which is at least slightly easier to deal with. I think I could take another hit of that, so let's just run upstairs, tuck our tail between our legs, again, like the brave little boy we are. And I'm hoping that this demonologist steps next to me. If you could be so kind, sir. Any moment now. I would appreciate it. There we go. Separate them from their summons, and then we can just start blasting here. Radiating all of these sons of guns. No problems whatsoever. Now there's just that High Priest. Make sure we get next to you so you're not calling down any damnation or anything ridiculous like that. And also, right, use Astral Sight to kind of get a sneak peek. We still have at least 2 High Priests, at least 1 Blade Master. I would like to imagine it's not more than that, but realistically, probably a lot more than that still to go. And look at that, a +1 Broadaxe of Electrocution. Wouldn't I have felt stupid if we used that acquirement scroll earlier to get the Broadaxe of Electrocution? So silly. Though I guess it's maybe not that much better that we're using the, or that we used it to get the amulet, because that also became irrelevant pretty quickly. But it is what it is, of course. Let's take you on a little bit of walk. Want to get away just in case those high priests start pouring out in large numbers here. I think I can afford one more irradiate. Ooh, not quite. I do get into nasty territory with our contamination. So I'll run away while I let that hit her on down. And in fact, if I could bring this demonologist upstairs, or, you know, just kill you with boomerangs, maybe mostly kill you. And as soon as the Ice Fiend appears, this is why we wanted to be by the stairs, so I could just instantly retreat, get the heck out of there. Feeling pretty good. Irradiate is a favorite in most of your spellcasters, so strong, even against Orbs of Fire in a pinch. It's absolutely huge. And part of a spellcaster is generally that you're going to have less than stellar defenses. So being surrounded becomes such a huge death sentence that having a just quick answer to that in any situation becomes a huge boon, I feel. So we just keep making our bong and strong. Gotta love that gong. Just makes me hungry, because for the longest time growing up, my family had a big gong in the house, and my parents would use it as the sign that, like, dinner was ready. So anytime it was time to eat, gong would just ring out through the house. Now have a bit of a Pavlovian response where the mouth just starts wetting. Sounds weird. Drooling is just not quite accurate to what I would hope would happen. There's probably a word that I'm forgetting at the moment that just implies hunger, but can't think of it right now, so I'm just gonna keep using the weird ones, I guess. What do people say? You don't say my mouth is wet, right? Definitely don't say your mouth is moist when you're hungry. Salivating, I guess, is kind of what I am going for here. That's a much better one. I begin salivating. There we go. We got there in the end. Of course, only after having some painful minutes of me awkwardly struggling through moist hunger. Yes, the common phrase that we all know and love. Talking all about your moist hunger. Not at all making people uncomfortable, I'm sure. Sometimes you just gotta use the word moist to make sure you're putting everyone on edge around you, right? Making sure they know what's up, what they're in for. Slavering would work since we're a null. Hey, there we go. That's the right mindset to take. I love it. Scroll of Silence. Oh my gosh, I need you. Finally get our answer to Nicola over in Spider. I knew that Elf had something good going on in it, and it definitely wasn't the inhabitants. Poison ring can go. Protection from cold ring, definitely gonna go. Give me my Scroll of Silence. Hopefully I don't have to use this against elves, because I would very much like to bring this into the fight against Nicola if possible. That inventor's son of a gun. And now we've got to be getting pretty close. That was a lot of high priests. We got the Blade Master that we'd seen using Astral Sight. I think we're gotta be getting there as we get a vision and a curse once more of alchemy and evocations. Again, what's with the alchemy, Ash? You have an agenda here or something? You're trying to tell me something? A sign from the heavens, potentially? But the more important thing, of course, is evocations is far and above one of my favorite curses to place onto anything. So I could curse the Amulet of Reflection. I'm hesitant to curse the Shield of the Gong to me because that is quite the commitment. Again, 41 shielding, spectacular, amazing defenses. But bringing this into Zot 5, a little bit frightening, a wee bit sketchy. So let us bind I was about to say the Amulet of Reflection, but I changed my mind mid-sentence. Instead, we're going to have a little bit of patience here. There's no huge rush in getting all that stuff sorted. So we could maybe wait to get something like self-introspection or whatever it's called, as well as evocations. Wouldn't that be nice? Demonologist immediately brings in a Tormentor. So let's just walk away for the moment here. I mean, oh my gosh, just the Tormentor is keeping up with us. That's not what I was hoping for. I guess I could probably just try and kill you real quick. Or you can disappear on your own, that works. Now where did that Demonologist go? We have unfinished business, you and I. Oh, hello, there are two of you. So this is where I definitely want to just step in the middle and start irradiating, especially if you bring a Hell Sentinel into the mix. Excuse me. You can't do that. They really were saving all the big summons for last, eh? Phantom Mirror, also beautiful. We're filling out the last few bits of evocables here. Staff of Fire is slightly tempting because it would allow us to gain another pip of fire resistance, which we desperately need. But we'll leave it alone for now. I feel Takima's Dance and Passage to Galubria. Passage to Galubria. Say that 12 times fast. Could definitely be useful for us, though, was the main thing. So definitely want to keep an eye on that for the future. And I think I do need a Condenser Vein, don't I? Oh me, oh my. What a world we live in. I didn't realize it was my birthday. Well, this ring, well, being kind of nice, the statistical bonuses as well as our elect could be pretty huge. Unfortunately, not desperately necessary with our current resistance to electric. So I think I will drop you for now. We did get a protection from Fire Ring, so that's nice. We might want to swap out the Cursed Ring, Share My Doubts. Having a bit of an edgy day there, Ash. Feeling a little bit on the gothic side. Well, we will potentially be making that swap at some point in the future, but for now, Wand of Flame, get out of here. Polymorph, I want to get rid of, but it's very useful against shapeshifters because it's a guaranteed chance, so if they turn into something truly terrifying, I feel like I will regret throwing that away. So let's just plop a few things down. +2 Gloves of Stealth. I think I'm just wearing bog standard gloves, right? I am. Yoink. I'll take this. Sorry I missed the start of my stream, but did I get the 2 S runes? Maybe I said it already, but what's my thought on 3rd rune? So we've only gone our swamp. Unfortunately, Spider was blocked off by some terrifying new monsters in this version of the game, as well as, more importantly, Nicola the Inventor, our good old Tesla pal, waiting for us. And at the time that we came across there, we had no sources of silence and no resistance to electricity, so that was just a straight up death sentence. So we haven't been back since. But that is probably where we will be going. In terms of 3rd rune, I think that it's very dependent on your character. For the majority of kind of sword and board fighting style characters, I like to pick the Abyss. As long as you have good sustainability, you're not worried about magic, you have good defenses, the Abyss pretty much becomes the most straightforward rune, if not the easiest, depending on which kind of rune vault you get at the end of the day there. But on most of my spellcasters, it becomes a toss-up of Slime or Vaults. Vaults, I would say I pretty much only take my spellcasters there. Slime, it becomes a question of, do I have the pieces to the puzzle? So whether it's a melee character or a spellcaster, if I have certain equipment pieces in my inventory or certain spells in my spellbook, then Slime becomes the much more straightforward choice. Mostly that includes having things like AoE for a fighter or a ranged character. I like to have an Immolation Scroll or 3. But yeah, largely depends on the character and kind of what feels most comfortable, where you're sitting, what kind of equipment or options in general you have at your disposal. Though I generally find myself at Slime or Abyss. Vaults can be a lot of fun. especially, yeah, on a blaster caster where you can just ignite the world. A lot of fun, but it's always scary. Always going to be slightly dangerous. You need good resistances across the board because who knows what you're going to find down there. But you can generally make something work. Again, depending on your character. But there we go. We've made it through Elf. Things went pretty smoothly, and it definitely helped round off kind of the last little bits that we needed here. Getting the Shield of the Gong, definitely a part of that as well. But that is fantastic. Now I definitely feel like we can return to Spider. I might regret these words in mere moments, but I think, I hope, I dream that we'll be able to head back to Spider and get through it in one piece. Let's give it a shot. Okie dokie, just about there. Oh me oh my, the nightmares we've had of this place. And so for this character, I think Gong would make Vaults 5 a bad choice? Definitely. Yeah, you nailed it right on the head there. Drawing all the entire of Vaults 5 to those starting stairs is a recipe for disaster. Even Slime is a little bit scary. Abyss, I would not take Shield of the Gong into as well. So I'm likely to take this character into the Abyss, but what I'm going to do there is swap out my necklace to give me Arlek and regen, swap out my shield to the Reflective Buckler, and that will leave us in a much more sustainable place where we're not going to have to fight everything, seeing as how if you use the Shield of the Gong in the Abyss, that's a bit of a rough time. It's similar to having something like Quaslal as your god, as I mentioned earlier. If you're worshipping Quaslal, probably don't really want to find yourself in Vaults 5 or the, definitely not the Abyss. The Abyss is a nightmare on Quaslal. You're just going to be drawing everything in the vicinity to your last known position and coordinates. So that can definitely be a rough time to say the least. Okie dokie. Let's see. Nicola, you're up here somewhere. Let's go find you, you son of a gun. Come fight me, coward. Glycerivas? What are they? Glycivoras. There we go. Pretty much called it last time when I made my guess that we wouldn't be able to remember the name, and would you look at that? What the heck is even this? A steel barb worm. So when you hit us, you embed barbs. Oh, okay, interesting. Makes it a little bit harder to run away from spiders. Resistant to fire is interesting as well. How about that? But let's take our new friends. You can see this is pretty much a visual representation of what happens when you bring the Shield of Gong into Vaults 5. Only imagine that all of these enemies are juggernauts, ancient liches, and dragons of all flavors. Because you definitely make an entrance, shall we say. Let's see, do we even want to fight here? Already getting lower than I otherwise might like, so what I think I'm going to do is run these bad boys to the stairs. I want to bring the Glycivora up with us, if possible. Perfect. Because they do just keep healing up the enemies as we're trying to take them down, and I can't be having that. That does not fly in this household, so let's get rid of that son of a gun, and it should make the rest of these, if not easier to deal with as a whole, at the very least makes our job a little bit more straightforward. And there we have it. The steel worm was being very nice to wait their turn in the back of the group as well. I appreciate it. And there he is, the son of a gun. You tricky boy, you. Well, we do have slightly more options than we did the last time we were here. I know that I kind of exclaimed at the Scroll of Silence, and don't you worry, that's probably going to be where we go with this. But I want to at least take a peek. If we Phantom Mirror you, your clone might just kill you. That's the beauty of just how strong that Chain Lightning spell is it kind of cuts both directions if we have something like the Phantom Mirror at our disposal. I wish I had the File of Flood, some reusable silence that's good against spellcasters would have been huge. But could always just clone you, friend. and see how it goes. Can definitely take one hit. Where's mine, Nicola? Oh, especially since I'm barbed now. Ah, I see. My Nicola is down below. Also, are you extremely injured? Or am I just seeing... It's hard... That's the one issue I have with the red backgrounds. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. Huge quality of life change to just let me at a glance notice, like, that's a dangerous enemy. But it's kind of like when you have a red border around a YouTube video and all of a sudden people can't tell if you've watched the video already or not. It's a similar kind of problem. But can assume that you're not already almost dead. And okay, that confirms it. Now that the green health bar appears, we've gotten our confirmation. And I think the two of us can beat this fight before taking too much damage, and then we can save that scroll of silence for the future. Beautiful. Absolutely love to see it. Cloak of Willpower. It's definitely a nice find. We'd sacrifice just a little bit of AC to bring out or bring up our willpower another point, which we will need when we switch away from the Shield of the Gong for specific areas of the game. Do have a ring, but might be nice to just put that on a cloak. So I don't know if I'll pick this up right away and kind of carry it throughout the rest of the dungeon, but I want to keep that in the back of the brain here as a potential swap to make in the future. Ooh, and we do get statue form. So let's take a peek real quick. If we use statue form, we would lose willpower, lose regen. Maybe not ideal. What else gets brought in? Our gloves definitely do, but that's just garbage at the moment. Trying to think of what else. Normally it's just like, yeah, boots as well, right? So I could see statue form being a thing. Also wanted to kind of see where everything was sitting at. It's still a little bit off in terms of castability, but we could think on it. Gives a huge bonus to your overall HP, and of course our AC might actually be sitting pretty after that, while simultaneously making us much more readily able to cast spells. So it's a good mix, to say the least. I've also been thinking about rebranding our Fustabalis here. Almost said sling, but that's not accurate. That's not what you are. But I'm kind of glad that we didn't quite yet, because the poison still is pretty effective here in Spider. So we can try and use that to our advantage. Oh gosh. Quite the welcoming party we've got here. Didn't know I had so many friends. But it's nice to be popular, I guess. Can't complain. Especially when we can just keep bringing them up in stair loads and doing just that to them. Works out. That's the beauty of not having to go to Snake. Because Snake is oftentimes an absolute nightmare. Also, again, what the heck is even that? A Brood Mother can summon spiders, and Abjure Summons has 140 health. And when it bites, it summons a spider. That's wild. Okay. So maybe keep that in mind. Also, I didn't even see you, a Pharaoh Ant. Excuse me. Drains life, so this is a heavy hitter, but low max HP, so Irradiate should do wonders there. Just have to be careful we don't get too many smites coming down from the Meliai as we kind of descend and ascend the stairs. In for a bit of a wild ride. It's an interesting one, this. Big ups to Ash and Zari for the See Invisible, because if we had to resort to using a slot in our inventory for that, we'd be in a nightmare situation of juggling the various pieces of equipment, but as is, definitely works for me. And yeah, not being constricted by snakes makes all this so much easier. It's essentially a dream come true with that at our disposal. Okay, my broody friend. You ever thought about just cheer up, forehead? It's that easy. We'll use a mixture of Irradiate and kind of the more traditional methods of slaughter here. Make sure we don't get too contaminated while also taking out this son of a gun. Who turned you two into simulacras? I feel like I was not paying close enough attention to spell lists. Does the Pharaoh Ant do that? Has the undead theming at the very least? It's gonna take me a little bit to get used to all the new spiders. I'm in fact just scanning the screen right now. Is there anything new here? I don't think so. I think this is all stuff that I'm comfortable with. This all falls into the zone of things that we have fought in the past, which is nice. And you totally agree, Astra, with what the heck is even that? You've been playing the older versions yourself. Yeah, I'm basically doing a reenactment of any time I play a Pokemon game. I grew up with friends playing Pokemon, but I never had any of the consoles with the games on them growing up, so getting into it at an older age, that's just my constant refrain as I walk around the various trading areas and try and remember what all the various little critters and creatures are called. They're all horrible monsters. You nailed it with that, Safid. I definitely cannot argue. Oh my gosh, are they a nightmare?